something interesting, as I mentioned in the last episode. Firstly, we're going to be sight reading. Here is the whole piece. As you can see, there are 3 parts. So we're going to go step by step and learn each part. Secondly, we're going to be playing the notes that we learned on a backtrack. Wow, a lot of things to do. So let's start. I am going to be explaining you the first part. On the first part, there are 2 parts. Part 1, which I am going to be explaining you part 1 and part 2 at the same time, since it is just a repetition. Part 2, which I am going to be explaining you part 3 and part 4. Now let's go on with part 1 for the first part. You will see on part 1 that there are 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the first note, you will see an arrow pointing downwards, which represents the bass drum. Then, on the third note, you will see an arrow pointing downwards again, which represents the snare. Then, on the top, you will see 2 arrows, which represent the hi-hats. Basically, I've explained you the basic rock beat in notation form. Now, this is the second part of part 1. You will see on part 3 that there are 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the first 4 notes, you will see that it's basically the basic rock beat again on the notation form. Now on the last 4 notes, you will see that there are 2 arrows on the top, which represent the hi-hat. And also, I don't know if you can see properly, but it's also representing the tom 1 as well. Then on the bottom, you will see an arrow which represents the bass drum. I am going to be explaining you part 4. On part 4, you will see 2 arrows, one on the top and one on the bottom. The top one represents the snare and it's played like this, pan kaka. The bottom one represents the bass drum. Then you will see the same note which is played on the snare, but this time is played on tom 1 like this. Then you will see another arrow on the bottom which represents the bass drum. Then you will see another arrow on the bottom again which represents the bass drum. Then you will see 2 arrows, one on the top and one on the bottom. The top one represents the cymbal and the bottom one represents the bass. Now we're going to be moving on to the second part. On part 1, you will see that there are 8 notes again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the first 4 notes, it is the basic rock beat in notation form again, which I have already explained. Now on the last 4 notes, I will explain it to you. On the 5th count, you will see an arrow pointing downwards, which represents the bass drum. Then on the 7th and 8th note, you will see an arrow pointing upwards, which represents tom 1. You will also see 2 more arrows which represent the hi-hats. Then on bar 2 and 3, you will see a sign which means to repeat the previous bar, which is bar 1. Then on bar 4, you will see 2 arrows, one on the top and one on the bottom. The top one represents the cymbal and the bottom one represents the bass drum. Then you will see two arrows on the top which represent the snare, and it's played like this. Here's how it's played. Now we're on to the last part of psychedelic. You will see an arrow pointing downwards which represents the bass drum. Then you will see an arrow pointing upwards which is played on the snare like this. Then you will see the same arrow pointing downwards which is played on the bass drum like this. Tati. Then you'll see two arrows on the top which represents the snare and the cymbal, which is played like this. Ta. If you combine all of them, it's played like this. Ta ti ta va ta fa ta ti ta, which is played like this. Then on bar 2 and 3, there's a sign which means to repeat the previous bar, which is bar 1. Then on bar 4, you will see two arrows, one at the top and one at the bottom. The top one represents the snare and the bottom one represents the bass drum. Then you will see an arrow on the top which represents the snare, and then another arrow on the top which this time represents tom 1. Then on bar 5 you will see two arrows, one on the top and one on the bottom. The top one represents the cymbal and the bottom one represents the bass drum.